I have me a new scene, a new setup, trying to something new, man. We calling this Research Over Mesearch, as you know. Usually I go live later on tonight. Maybe I still go live later on tonight, but today we're getting into some news, man. It's always important for us to think globally, act locally, as well as understanding what these white folks is talking about, specifically when it comes to the way our reality set up, these goddamn policymakers, man. Today we're gonna be exploring, I'm gonna call it Trump fatigue. Get into Trump fatigue, the recent comments of Nicki Minaj being at the United Nations speaking on Nigeria and the Christian attacks, as well as getting to the Epstein list. I said this a minute ago. As well as I got this individual that talked about slavery and said that, you know, hip hop and rap music has done more damage to the Black community than slavery. I'm ending that with that. Without further ado, though, y'all remember a time that we was not hearing about the president of the United States every day? Remember that? Remember it was a time that we could wake up in the morning and we not hear about the 24-hour news cycle of what the president is doing. I am experiencing Trump fatigue. I'm exhausted with hearing about Trump. I'm tired of hearing about Trump. You know, I am experiencing a lot of just tiredness all the way around. We know that the colonizers, they not very creative when it comes to coming up with new concepts. And we've seen on the internet a lot of them talking about experiencing Black fatigue. And then they will sensationalize something that Black people is doing and saying, this is making me tired of seeing and being around Black people. You know, education is elevation. My motto is Research Over Mesearch. Shout out to Professor William Smith. He's the one that created this framework. The framework they get the Black fatigue stuff from is from racial fatigue, or what Professor William A. Smith called racial battle fatigue. And just to give us, you know what I'm saying, some definitions, it is a form of psychological and physiological stress that people of color experience from navigating and coping with chronic racism and microaggressions. It is caused by exposure to dismissiveness, hostility, demeaning racial environments, and can lead to symptoms of high blood pressure, anxiety, frustration, headaches, and social withdrawal. When white people talk about experiencing Black fatigue, they ain't really did their homework and really leaned in and thinking about what this professor has put blood, sweat, and tears with, creating a whole literature base. So when I say I'm experiencing Trump fatigue, I think it's something we should increase in all our lexicons. You know what I'm saying? You know, Huey P. Newton said that power is the ability to define the phenomenon and make it act in a desired manner. When I say Trump fatigue, I'm thinking about the ways that he's exacerbated all the way that white supremacy worked. From the institutions, when we talk about education, you know what I'm saying, or we're talking about healthcare, all the various ways he has made us have anxiety and stress around hearing his name and around thinking about our realities, man. Trump, the Trump effect, Trump deranged syndrome. What did Trump eat today? Is Trump on them Epstein files? We're going to get into that. But first, let's just start getting into some illustrations, some ways in which this man is getting on the way. And YouTube, I'm trying to use this in terms of fairness. So please don't hold it against me, man, on this video. And if I have to edit it back, I'll let my editors know. We might take it back because it might be copyrighted. You know what I'm saying? It might be. Shout out to ABC. But listen.
Why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind. It's your.
You know what I forgot?
Spontaneous percussion.
Yes, man. This is an episode of Research Over Mesearch. If you are not able to get to your YouTube channel, you can get to Spotify and or Apple Podcasts, or wherever you watch podcasts at. You know, we getting into this Trump. I'm gonna start it over. I almost forgot to play. You know what I'm saying? I'm proud of that video because I made it. You know what I'm saying? I made it. Shout out to Canva.
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind. It's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a.
I'm tired, y'all. Yeah, y'all ain't tired of this. Y'all ain't tired of this grown man that is at the realm of the most powerful country, or one of the most powerful countries in the world, at least when it comes to military funding anyway, acting like a child. This man is conducting himself at a lower manner than my 9th and 10th grade English students when I was teaching in Oklahoma City. This man is conducting himself in a much more immature way than them goddamn frat boys that I had in my classroom at the University of Oklahoma. When I say Trump fatigue, this is the type of shit I'm tired of. There was a time that we had double speak elites where the president held themselves to a certain standard publicly and they did this type of nonsense privately. But now,
was highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psychs you over at ABC. They're going to psych it.
You're all psyched. You all psyched. Can y'all stop talking about it, please? I'm shaking in my boots. How can I create another distraction and make it where y'all stop talking about these? We're going to get more into my mixed feelings about the Epstein files, and I ain't meaning in the Megyn Kelly way. I don't mean in a 5-year-old or 15-year-old distinction way. I'm going to get into it, but y'all see he's shaking in his boots. We have the president of the United States telling us to basically stay out of his business. In some instances, it's like, yeah, man, I'm tired of hearing about you every damn day. But in other instances, there are certain things, President, we should be paying very vigilant attention to. And you and these old Epstein files.
You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. As far as the Epstein files is, I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many.
How many pictures? How many videos? How many emails? How many birthday?
Years ago, because I thought he was a.
We being gaslit. Hold on. My grandparents always told me, little George, you should be mindful of when you being pissed on and they telling you it's raining. Black people uniquely, we understand when our intelligence is being insulted. And we know when the finesse game is happening and when somebody lying to us. And dementia Trump, Mango Mussolini, Orange Man in office, he think we stupid. The digital archive lives on. And no matter how much you want to erase it out of our psyche, we seen the pictures and the videos. We seen it. We seen it. He talked about you being a best friend, Epstein. He also talked about you being a bad person. The most famous pedophile in American history talked about you being a bad person. Let's just sit with that.
Thank you.
And now we got Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett is a House representative that is being held to higher standards, Stephen A. Smith, than Donald Trump. And we also see that a lot of people show their political literacy in this podcast, in this feature, this program, and I'm calling Research Over Mesearch. Part of the intentions or the mission is to increase political literacy, making it where you have the ability to read and write situations pertaining to race, because, you know, my motto is education is elevation, and literacy is something that I think that our country really suffers from, especially when it comes to illiteracy. So I'm hoping that when you tune in to me every week, when you tune in to whether it's a live stream or a video, you're able to get an increased vocabulary. You're able to understand more about domestic politics and international politics, as well as increasing your political literacy. Right now, we finna get into Jasmine Crockett, and it's gonna illustrate how Jasmine Crockett's resistance to the status quo, her ability to be unapologetic when she speaks truth to power, and her I don't give a damn, you got me fucked up mentality. It's kind of what she matches when it comes to these Republicans. The last thing I say on this is this. Donald Trump is applauded a lot for his unapologetic nature when it comes to being respectability and when it comes to shows respectability politics. A lot of people I like how he just says it how it is, and I like his attitude, and I like the way in which he just doesn't care about what they say. And that's what I like. I don't agree with everything he says, but I like that he sticks to his truth and he lets his balls drop. And when this black woman do the same thing, now you're throwing a temper tantrum. Now all of a sudden you want to be this righteousness. They want to hold people to political standards that you were holding like 1960. And even that is some contradictions. But let's see what that, you know what I'm saying, what Miss Jasmine Crockett has to say. Shout out to everybody in Dallas, Texas, Triple D, everybody in DFW that sees her in the streets, and all the black folks that, you know, put some time in and making sure this woman was elected.
This is a distraction to take away from the fact that the guardians of pedophiles is literally trying to protect pedophiles. The president is a convicted felon and an accused sex offender. Stacey Plaskett hasn't been accused of either. So what are we actually here talking about? Trump and Epstein were besties. We've all seen the pictures of them. We saw.
You be my best friend. I was a young thug. That's my bestie, my bestie, my bestie. Go best friend. Woo! And matter of fact, every time Donald Trump sent him a birthday card, he was proverbially doing a young thug. He was Epstein. That's my bestie, my bestie, my bestie. Go best friend. Go best friend, best friend.
Birthday book. So why are y'all more interested in talking about Stacey Plaskett than Trump's relationship with the man?
And for context, I'm not in the game of protecting Democrats at all, but I think context is always important. Ms. Plaskett used to be a lawyer, as well as a prosecutor, as well as holding a position of power. When she asking him questions, I think that it's kind of in bad faith to automatically assume it's in nefarious reasons because she was doing the investigation. I think that I would encourage people, because I don't want to give no spiel, you feel me? I don't want nobody to feel like I'm being a Democratic apologist in any way, but I do think that context is important. So I encourage y'all, if you want to know more about what she's representing in terms of plastic, when I let this video play, you'll get more context of it, but it's important to see how they do when it comes to the justice in realms of power, and how they feel like anytime a Black person is doing something in the realms of power, it's always convoluted, it's always seen as being illegitimate, it's always can be seen as something that we can be skeptical of. But when these white people do, especially white men in the conservative party, we got to look at it with good faith, and we have to wait till the facts come out, and we have to always assume the best intent when all the receipts show us that's not probably what's going on.
When did y'all become so moral? Because I can remember when y'all went and signed the discharge petition, all of a sudden everybody wanted to vote for this, but you wouldn't sign the discharge petition. Until we decide that we are going to go after the actual rapists and pedophiles, miss me with your moral high ground. Folks who also took money.
I'm gonna do a whole video on this, but a lot of y'all have selective moral outrage when it comes to the general welfare of children. And what Jasmine Crockett just said illustrates and highlights how a lot of y'all be faking the funk. A lot of y'all would talk about how you care about kids. And a lot of y'all, when it comes to Lil Nas X going down a pole on a music video, all of a sudden you become child welfare. All of a sudden you act like you work for DHS or you work for Child Protective Services. But when it comes to actual pedophiles, actual people that abuse children, we cop please. When it comes to my advocacy for the LGBT community, y'all love to sensationalize gay cartoons and gay comic books and say we have to protect the innocence of children. You have think pieces, you have a whole bunch of live streams, you have a whole bunch of memes. A lot of y'all have much more ethical, moral outrage when it comes to a Disney programming having some gay shit, or Nas X doing some gay shit, or some cartoon doing some gay shit, more than you have outrage around the Epstein files or around somebody like R. Kelly or around somebody that actually does violence towards children. Peep game. Simplifying it. We have more energy for the potential of pedophilia when it comes to the LGBT community. The gay agenda is coming after the children. We got to protect the children. So let's justify all these bills coming by to protect children that actually discriminates versus the LGBT community, while we turn a blind eye to how they're taking all type of funding from our classroom, as well as advocating. You know, in Tennessee, in states like Tennessee, they have the marriage age like 14 and 15 years old. So while they paint this whole community as being pedophiles, they are protecting the pedophiles. Jasmine Crockett was very intentional when she said, y'all are the gatekeepers of the pedophiles. You feel me? And it's just like our country, our world is ran by a whole bunch of individuals that see children as being exposable and disposable. And a lot of y'all acting fake like you care about children. But when it comes times to do it and the road meet the road, you cop please. Or you recensor what's happening in children and you make it about something else. This is a democratic, witch hunt. But you care about the children, though. You care more about drag kings in the classroom, more about drag queens in the classroom than you cared about what they was funding in the classroom. You care more about how these children are being exposed to the woke agenda more than you cared about them going to Epstein Island. And you care more about painting the drag queens and the lesbians and the trans women. You care more about painting them as pedophiles then you care more about dealing with the actual pedophiles. As we say in the hood, keep that same energy. What was you saying, Jasmine Crockett?
From somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio. I just want to be clear. If this is the standard that we're going to make, just know we're going to expose it all. And just know that the FEC filings, they are available for everybody to review. This is...
The FEC filings are mentioned because right now they are sensationalizing how Jasmine Crockett spent nearly $75,000 on luxury travel and hotel security in 2024 and trying to make it like she's doing a bunch of scamming. You know, it's real easy to buy in a confirmation bias, to always believe that when it comes to finances and Black people, there's some scamming going on. But for me, being a former debater, you feel me, somebody that loves to do an impact calculus, like if you care about scamming, and let's say, you know what, let's say the FEC files was not public, what she pointed out. Let's say that what she was doing was completely illegal and scamming. We'll have much more outrage about the scamming of $75,000 than we'll have of $75 million. And I think this is a part of the ethical selective outrage that we talk about. Not only what she did was, you know what I'm saying, it looks like because she filed an FEC that it was all legit, all legal. They ain't filed no legal charges against her, you know what I'm saying? But all of Fox News picked this up. And this is how I know, Stephen A. Smith. Some would argue that you're not even that good when it comes to giving sports analysis. But you know what? I'm not going to do you like that. You see what I'm saying? I don't agree with our sports analysis. And I think that this, because I don't agree with your analysis, don't mean you're a bad analysis. You see what I'm saying? Don't mean you're a bad analyst. You know what I mean? What I will say is that you trying to give political analysis is not you staying in your lane. And I would say it's a bit contradictory as well. When you pop your chest and you pop your shit about how everyday Joes are trying to talk to you about how you do sports journalism, and you talk about how you've been an expert and how you put a whole bunch of blood, sweat, and tears into being a journalist, and how your expertise and experience quantifies how you're able to be a legitimate journalist, and how that doesn't get to step to you when it comes to being a random Joe off the street and being a journalist. When it comes to politics, man, and doing political analysis, it's the same thing, man. I want to go to this part right here. I want to say this to everybody in the back. Just because you experience something does not make you an expert. Just because you experience politics don't make you an expert on politics. Just because you experience sports don't make you an expert on sports. Just because you experience racism, it don't make you an experience on racism. A lot of us like to substitute experience for expertise, and that's how we in the world we're into now. That's very anti-intellectual, and that's what I think that Dr. Stephen makes me know. I ain't doctor. I'm doing too much talking about doctor. Well, that's what Stephen A. Smith is doing. And that's obviously how he's aligned himself with the Republican Party. Jasmine Crockett pointed out that if y'all care about FEC filings and what people, who people get money from and how they spending it, keep that same energy. All those names she said, those are names that her and her team did the research, because, you know, Research Over Mesearch, they did that. And they seen all these names have been paid. You've been paid by the pedophile. Free all my homeboys, all my family members that's locked up for being an accessory to crime. The judge told them, because you're in proximity to the crime, or because you knew the crime was being committed, you're an accessory to it, and now you're just as guilty as the person that committed the crime. White privilege and white supremacy allows for so many of these white conservatives and white people writ large, because, you know, whiteness and white supremacy is not bipartisan. They should go both streams, both parties. It allows for them to not be seen as accessories to the crime. It allows for them to always have the privilege of individualism while not always having to care about the relationality they have to pedophiles. Now, if El Chapo and them had some family members, or El Chapo and them had village members that knew they was running an activity and they felt like they were benefiting from any way, shape, or fashion, we'll have a federal judge in our country that throw them in jail. So how come we have so many individuals that have actual ties to a pedophile and they get away? This reminds me of when R. Kelly was being held to the feet, held his feet to the fire.
And everybody that try to talk shit about me being an agent, being a part of a liberal agenda because I said that trans people and LGBTQ people should be left alone. Y'all said, what about the kids? Y'all blamed the victimization that R. Kelly had on children on their parents, and you call them fads. A bunch of pedophile apologists, man. Get back to the thing. I'll get back to what I was getting into, man. This next thing we finna get into right here is Miss Onika, Nicki Minaj. What I would say in terms of a disclaimer. Right. Lean into this one. Bars. I don't want to smoke with your bars. Mike. It fell down. Barbs. Well, fix it. Barbs. Oh yeah, barbs. I want to just say this, barbs. I don't want no smoke with y'all. I don't want to fight with y'all. I don't want to be doxxed. I don't want y'all coming at my wife. I do think that we could talk about, though, in terms of expertise and how danger happens and how when we create narratives, about American imperialism, or when we create narratives about instability and about tragedies in other countries, and we get invited to like United Nations, it creates a bad climate, and it leads to violence and suffering of our own people. I think that right is right and wrong is wrong, but I also think that we should be able to talk about credibility and expertise. And it's not to say that you have to have a master's degree or a PhD to be able to speak on Nigeria or what's happening to Christians. It's not saying that at all. It is saying that if you have a team of, people that have assistants that does research, I think you should be able to do your due diligence and think about how you could be used by the state and or how you could be making a narrative that could be dangerous to people on the ground. In one speech, we were able to see that just because there was a statement given at the United Nations does not mean it has legitimacy or credibility. It does not mean it's true. That's what that means. And what that means.
Barb.
And before she plays, Barbs, before y'all get on me, 'cause I know she's about to say right before y'all try to fight. I'm an educator. I'm not here to be agreed with. I'm not here to be liked. After I play the clip of Nicki Minaj and what she's saying specifically about Nigeria, I'm going to contextualize with evidence and research what is actually going on, and I'm going to make the extrapolation analysis about why what she said and what she's doing, why it's dangerous. Agreed? Deal? Deal.
I know you're somewhere listening. I love you so very much. You have been the ultimate light in my life and career for so long. I appreciate you, and I want to make it very clear once again that this isn't about taking sides. This is about standing up in the face of injustice. I would like to thank President Trump for prioritizing this issue and for his leadership on the global stage in calling for urgent action to defend Christians in Nigeria, to combat extremism, and to bring a stop to violence against those who simply want to exercise their natural right to freedom of religion or belief. No group should ever be persecuted for practicing their religion, like I recently stated on social media. And we don't have to share the same beliefs in order for us to respect each other.
Donald Trump said if Nigerian government continues to allow killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria. It may very well go into now disgraced country with guns ablazing to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. Trump is now talking about introducing American military forces to he's instructed the Department of Defense to prepare possible action in Nigeria. Right now, we have a bunch of Americans that's going without food, eating, sleep for dinner. We have a bunch of Americans that can't afford housing. And in the words of Tupac, we have money for wars, but can't feed the poor. This narrative feeds into that framework. It feeds into that reality. And we also know that when it comes to invading country, people that look like us is going to be on the front lines when it comes to American militarism and American military industrial complex. And we know that what's going on, it's not ironic. It's not ironic. Right now,
there is two popularized narratives that have been successful in being able to extract wealth and being able to exploit oppressed peoples. In Venezuela, they have oil, and Donald Trump is saying we have a war on drugs, drug trafficking. In Nigeria, they say Nigeria has oil as well. Extremism, the war on terror, and the war on drugs massively used in this country to justify militarism invasions and justify a lot of tax dollars going to support said invasions. And right now, we see that narrative is being cooked up. Back in the day, I feel like I'm 34, in the early 2000s, it used to come out sometimes as being a conspiracy theory-esque when somebody talked about, we just only going there for oil. Because we would hear about the humanitarian things going in and taking the resources and justify invading them with them. You know, I seen this nice video of Ibrahim Burkina Faso. He talked about how, you know, when the American government or the French government, or, you know, the French government wants to do something for you, they bring you some freedom. They bring you some stability. They bring you democratic resources. And we should be very, 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 very mindful of that. We should be very mindful of how we're able to do it, which takes me to this real fast, man. Hold on, let's see. Hold on. Trying to change. I want to deal with this real quick. Real fast. This real quick, man. Truth L says that, no, we say you're a part of the liberal agenda because you are, LOL. Look, chopped up that Bill Clinton interview, bro. Out the main part that he named names, who names on the island. I feel like you are purposely obtuse and you so lost in the sauce of bipartisanship politics, you wouldn't understand an amazing liberal critique if it bit you in the ass. And I think that it's funny that you're making this conversation about I'm on the liberal agenda while I'm giving you international analysis about imperialism. And obviously the Democratic Party believes imperialism is good, and I think imperialism is bad. To the conversation about ICE. I'm gonna be very critical about how liberals and Democratic Party have funded ICE throughout their presidency and that Trump has uniquely bidded that, but all y'all in cahoots and all y'all was cool with being able to criminalize immigrants when it came to funding ICE. What I know is that a lot of y'all don't understand structural analysis and that it's not just the left bird or right bird, or it's not just this side of the system and this side of the system, it's the entire system. You wanna talk about bipartisan politics or the two-party system in a way on each other. A lot of y'all mistake engagement for it. And you think that engagement with the liberals is an endorsement of the liberals. You think engagement with the Democratic Party is an endorsement of the Democratic Party. Just like a bunch of those Democrats stand me, a bunch of y'all can't stand me as well because y'all are politically illiterate. You view politics like a sports team. You see it as you either team this or team that. I view it as issue to issue to issue to issue. And what I said, if I'm advocating for goddamn criminals in the community, and I want to make sure that we have some policies that gives us less harsher, you feel me, convictions, and make it where we want to have more infrastructure to make sure our kids is not into the streets and not into this, I'm gonna go to the people that's gonna give me that policy. While I'm getting that policy from them, I'm gonna let them know they are as evil as they is the entire time. But we gonna get this criminal justice though. You see what I'm saying? And engagement is not endorsement. Regardless of whoever disagrees, this is my politic right here, and y'all be having me rocked up. Really, you see what I'm saying? But I'm trying not to drop too many F-bombs, man. What I say is this. And I'll get to my back to the point. A lot of y'all have very snapshot ideas of who you think consciously is because you've seen a video or two. And now you are saying it with your chest, making a whole bunch of declarative statements about what consciously is or who consciously is. Isn't it a little suspicious that all the countries Trump wants to go into war with is oil rich? Iran, Venezuela, now Nigeria. Finna get into American imperialism And who gets to determine what, especially when it comes to a country? If American imperialism says that there's a tragedy going on in your country, then it's a tragedy going on in your own country, regardless of what the leadership in that country says. If America says there is not a tragedy going on in your country, it's not a tragedy going on in your country, regardless of what that leader of that country says. Right now, we have a bunch of Western media buying into this idea that there is, Christians being genocided in Nigeria. Let's read of how the Nigerian leadership responded to Trump. In a statement on Sunday, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, did not name Trump directly, but emphasized that Nigeria is a democracy with constitutional guarantees of religious liberty. He said characterizing the country as religiously intolerant does not reflect our national reality. When I was in debate, I picked up on this portable skill of international relations and how to see when different rhetoric and different words and different choice concepts is deployed towards a country and be used to justify them being unstable or having a dictator that would then justify intervention and invasion that would then justify who controls the means of production and the resources in that said country. Right here, what we have is Donald Trump creating a narrative, manufacturing it to say that this country is experiencing instability and a genocide happening on Christians and we should go and invade. I find it funny that for a country that talks about being free of religion, freedom of religion, and have church and state, figures out a way to evoke an emotional response from the people anytime we feel like Christians are experiencing something. And before I get into it, I want to say this because I want to clip this part for a clip. Muslims in Nigeria are also Islamophobia and the war on terror. It's been so miraculously used that if we hear terrorism or we hear bad shit coming from Islam or it coming from Muslims, it automatically allows for us to buy into confirmation bias of Islamophobic terror. And that's what Donald Trump is purposely knowingly doing. Go for it. Research over mesearch. Let's keep it going though. And this is according to the Guardian.com coming from. Meanwhile, his president spokesperson, Daniel Bwala, described Trump's post as a miscommunication and expressed hope that both leaders would iron out their differences as they meet. This part is very important. That goes to Nicki Minaj. This point as well is I feel like something that gives us increased media literacy. This also goes to, I think, the way that a lot of y'all pick and choose how y'all perpetuate oppression. I'm gonna say it and then I'm gonna go back to this analysis right here. He insists that a data-driven assessment rather than an isolated report and social media videos should guide international conclusions. I would argue that a data-driven assessment, or isolated report of social media videos should also guide the conclusions when it comes to racism, sexism, ableism, capitalism. A lot of us are used to being able to go with confirmation bias, and I guess it's the more fallacies. And you believe that if you can generalize a particular, this now creates a new narrative that we can generalize in and should dictate how we act. Why would he say that we have data-driven assessments that disagree with him and talk about the ways isolated reportings of social media videos and incidents is not the actual reality? Because he knows those words can be used to justify a climate of American intervention where Nigerian leadership has no power of authority no more of Nigerian resources, Nigerian land, Nigerian people. They know that, just like the president of Venezuela knows. President of Venezuela knows. All of South America. In Research Over Mesearch, Research Over Mesearch, it's also about thinking and connect the dots of how international politics also impact what happens here, domestically, and how a lot of times when our food being taken out of our mouths, that food is being given to the military, or that food is being given to justify different interventions, or that food is being used to make sure, and these billionaires are making their money by globalizing jobs around the world to make sure they can pay people. It's a bunch of things you have to be able to do. Why I quote Huey P. Newton so much, the co-founder of the Black Panther Party, whether I'm talking about power or thinking globally and acting locally. Just keep it going. I know we have these, all this is according to the Guardian. Oh man, hold on, real quick. All this according to the Guardian. But while military action would only happen if a joint action with the Nigerian government reaffirming Nigeria's sovereignty He's reaffirming Nigerian sovereignty because he understands that what they're doing, the narrative they're creating, is a threat to Nigerian sovereignty. They taught us in America that checks and balances, popular sovereignty, and power were the three tenets that make America what America is. Y'all don't find it suspicious that when America wants to take some natural resources, the first thing they go after demonizing and bastardizing is a country's sovereignty. Even in this country. When they want to come into the Black community, or they want to paint us as being stupid, or they want to take advantage of our resources or our culture, they basically paint us as being unsovereign. And some Afro-pessimists and some scholars would say that Black people are unsovereign people in America. We are outsiders from within. And you know, this is what this getting to. Going back to this Nigeria Trump, this right here, all two barbs. I ain't got this. This is contextual, showing you that I'm not trying to attack her for a character. This is straight facts and research and talking about the actual reality of what's going on and what was said. I'm not trying to comfort the queen. I'm just a random ass peasant on the internet. I don't want no smoke with you at all, but I do think what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. And I think how we create narratives and how those narratives get used to justify violence or intervention is very important. While I added that any military still concerns are mounting that Trump's remarks could affect bilateral relations, particularly aid and sales of arms, or to be exploited by secessionist groups such as the by-far Republic government in exile, which is already lobbying in Washington. And that's important, you know what I'm saying, because a lot of times when we have instability or we have conflict in different African countries, there have been Western powers that have funded and that have supported the whatever group it is that's causing all the instability that's going against the sovereignty. Whether we're talking about Congo and we're talking about the M13, whether we're talking about Rwanda and whether we're talking about, you know, Sudan, and we're talking about the way that, you know, the ganja weed or RSF is being funded, or whether we talk in every instance, we see that, hey, I think I seen, you know what I'm saying, this being said by the leader of Sierra Leone. Said somebody told her, it's like, give us your diamonds and comply. And if you don't want to comply, we will find a Judas in your village. It's something random on some ADHD shit. I did me a DNA test with African ancestry. And I already know, and for y'all say, you do that, this, that, and the other. And before I was very knowledgeable of all of the FBI shit and what they doing with the DNA, I already had gave it to somebody. So I know that I have a little Nigerian and a little Sierra Leonean in my blood, right? But I'm also very knowledgeable of settler colonialism. So psychologically, I've been thinking, what if my, because you know, African ancestry gonna tell me what tribe. What if that I don't really have a tribe that I'm tied to in Sierra Leone, and my blood and my tie to Sierra Leone is actually colonizing. You know, Liberia and Sierra Leone were two countries that were created by colonization that was justified by the Europeans and white folks here in America and throughout the West not wanting to be around Black folks, and they sent niggas on boats and guns, sent them to Liberia and sent them to Sierra Leone. And I've been grappling and thinking about, what does it mean for me to have heritage and lineage that's tied into colonizing African people? I'm doing a live stream on it soon with AfricanAncestry.com. Y'all be on the lookout for that. That'll be a special episode of Research Over Mesearch, but getting back into it and taking this this dude, you know what I'm saying, that's want to be on the screen, man. Hey, well, I realized too, if I get back into this, a lot of folks will say some greedy shit to you on the internet because they want some attention. And sadly, the internet has incentivized people being ugly and throwing insults because they believe it gives them visibility and they believe it's the easiest way to get a reaction. I feel like I'm gonna train myself on this. This is my challenge to myself in 2026, focusing more on support and people that's trying to spur a conversation on, and people that want to push dialogue, and not the haters, not the opposition, not the hecklers, not the individuals that's here to mess up the learning process. Because, you know, I approach this as a digital classroom, man.
Mr. President.
Trump fatigue. Trump fatigue. Trump fatigue, y'all. This is another example of Trump fatigue. And just for the end, isn't another quick little rant real fast, man. Let's put it right here. There used to be a time in this country where there wasn't 24-hour footage and coverage of the president. There used to be a time in this country where we wasn't always already concerned about what the president was doing all around the clock, and he didn't dominate every single news cycle. The uniqueness that Donald Trump has had is that he has reality TV showed up the United States, and he has showed a lot of us black folks what we already knew. A white man can get away with, a powerful white man in America can get away with anything in this country that a nigga to be put up on the jail for. Black people have done significantly less of what Donald Trump has done, and they have justified our murder. And I'm laughing because I gotta laugh sometimes, not to cry. There was a time that we had outrage behind behind Barack Obama having a Manila suit on in the White House. They ran 48-hour news coverage being outraged because Barack Obama had a selfie stick in the White House. They agreed with his imperialism. They weren't tripping on him droning all the Muslims. They weren't tripping on him having record high deportations of the immigrants. They were pissed off about a Manila suit. And then when he got out of office, they faked and lied about a border crisis, when in actuality, this man is the deporter in chief. You see what I'm saying? It just showed that a lot of the conservative contradictions is inherent in our politics, and Donald Trump exposes the various ways that a conflict of interest happens and shows the various ways that this institution of America was always made for white folks, and particularly white men, to always keep their power. It's a reason why I always like to point out, hey, it is trashy for poor folks, and especially poor black folks, to receive government assistance and or for people to feel like they're getting over on the government. It is seen as classy when rich white men use government assistance and get over in the government. It is seen as genius. And what I'm going to show y'all right now when it comes to Qatar, and when it comes to even thinking about the law, I'm hoping that through any of these episodes y'all see that it spills over in the real world, and it allows you to have some good conversations about policy and about how this shit going on in the world impacts your everyday livelihood, impacts how you're able to feed yourself, impacts how you pay them bills, impacts the way in which these politicians are playing in our face and say they ain't got some money for us domestically, and they'll just give it out. They don't know what they're doing. They just give it out when it comes to international politics.
Is it appropriate, Mr. President, for your family to be doing business in Saudi Arabia while you're president? Is that a conflict of interest? And Your Royal Highness, the U.S. intelligence concluded that you orchestrated the brutal murder of a journalist. 9/11 families are furious that you are here in the Oval Office. Why should Americans trust you? And the same to you, Mr. President.
He said, who you with? Who you with? Hey, he trying to G-check folks, man. If he don't like you, he'll bully you. If he don't like the question that you ask, he will intimidate you. Y'all seen the clip of him saying, quiet, quiet, piggy. A grown-ass man used the insult that elementary kids use, talking to a reporter who had the legal professional access to him. He said, leave me alone, Biggie. I got some shit in my glasses.
Who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You're with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news, ABC fake news, one of the worst in the business, but I'll answer your question. I have nothing to do with the family business.
Trump's family has made $3.4 billion during his time as president. Once upon a time, Americans worried about politicians being bought. Under Trump, the most powerful office in the country, it is now set up for sale. We've now figured out various ways that the Qatar government has been able to benefit from giving a private jet to Donald Trump. We see the various ways. Quid pro quo. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. You know, even though our founding fathers of this country, not my founding fathers, but theirs, was a bunch of evil, dictating, enslaving colonizers, they like to romanticize them as being perfect when it comes to setting up government. And what I always find funny is that when it comes to them romanticizing the great way that the framers made the Constitution and all this other shit, it's like Donald Trump is able to be the exception to the rule of how he convolutes the perfection and purity of the government. Democracy was about not having a dictator and making it where we always have fair, equal elections, and make it where our people in power are never, ever, ever, ever having these type of conflict of interest, and they're never able to be, persuaded, coerced. What's the word I want to use here? Blackmail. What's it called? What is it called when a police officer, what's it called when you get pulled over and you like, I'll give you $1,000, bribe, you feel me? That's really what this is. It's bribery. This is political bribery, literal bribery, and we see it being done politically. This man is able to do business politically with the Qatar government and with different people over there, while also claiming he ain't got nothing to do with him. He able to do shit with Saudi Arabia, while being able to claim, hey, I'm not a part of the family business, but your family is directly benefiting from what you're doing. Hey, even though a bunch of people on the left, you feel me, a bunch of liberals disagree when I said, hey, I think it is weird that Joe Biden was able to pardon his son. Would I pardon my son too? Yes. Does it change that it's weird? Nah, don't change it. Does it change that you're able to give your family member, a relative, a benefit or a privilege because you're in power? Yes, it is. I think that all this right here, this right here, definitely the clip right here. All the Republicans that had the selective outrage, that was pissed off about Joe Biden being able to benefit, making his son benefit from being that pardon. I want to see y'all selective outrage. I want to see some more outrage when it comes to how Donald Trump's family is being able to benefit from him being in office. If it was bad for Hunter Biden to be able to escape away criminally because his father is in office, it should also be bad for the Trump family to uniquely benefit billions of dollars because their dad is in office. You see how being bipartisan politics don't work with me? If Bill Clinton is in the Epstein files, lock his ass up. If Barack Obama in the Epstein files, lock his ass up. If Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton was found that they was doing some old weird, lock their ass up. I have no provocations or exceptions for no pedophiles at all, actually. So the idea that people gonna be like, well, you didn't play the clip for Bill Clinton, or what about the Democrat? Lock their ass up. If anything, you should be pissed off. The same Democrats, Republicans try to convince you or demon and all this old shit. They was doing a bunch of freaky shit together at the Epstein Island. They were trying to convince us that we number one enemies. At the same time, they was doing a bunch of collaborative freaky shit. That's the reason why they all quiet and all scared. So now look at that. You putting your bullshit bipartisan ego in front of the actual general welfare of children, and you willing to ignore that all of them was playing with children and doing shit to children. They always doing it. And you ignoring that your homegirl, Megyn Kelly, she described 5-year-olds as children and 15-year-olds as teens. The same people that painted 25-year-olds and 30-year-olds as being kids when they was having them Hitler damn group chats, talking about hanging niggas on group chats. Them was kids that were 25, 30-year-olds. But let a 17-year-old black kid make a mistake, you're going to charge them that for the rest of their life. Being charged with adult, and now they 25, 35, when you still consider them as kids, and now they plagued as being a problem child their whole life because they made a mistake. But kids will be kids. We ain't trying to hear that shit. And we not trying to hear that you are not using your political relationship with the Saudis or with Qatar or whoever else to benefit your family business. Whether you kick the bucket tomorrow or you live for another 20 years, your whole estate benefiting from what you're doing. You can try to lie. You can try to act like I need to be an economist to see how to. Stop playing. Stop playing me right here. You feel me? This one right here, we finna get ready towards the end of this, man. And you know, a part of Research Over Mesearch is, you know what I'm saying, building literacy. After this episode is, it's done, all of the news that I mentioned in this, as well as the key takeaways from this, there'll be an article available on Substack. You know what I'm saying? I definitely encourage you to go subscribe to the Substack. If you're looking to have some good conversations with people that's having dialogue and good faith, that's not just trying to troll, I encourage you to go subscribe to the Substack. There are also other episodes that I won't be doing live. It'll be a little bit more research heavy. If you want access to that research or the PowerPoints that I'm using, I encourage you to subscribe on Substack. Again, before I get into this shucking and jiving, you know, I don't even call them coons. I just say you are being a white supremacist sympathizer. You ain't been an Uncle Tom, you've been an anti-black apologist. But you feel me? If you're looking to get the uncensored, unedited videos, you know, or even some time to time getting some archive content I have on YouTube, subscribe to my Patreon. You feel me? Making sure we building, guys. We building the network, man. And to all the haters, y'all show me how the ecosystem. Y'all showed me that anytime I do something y'all don't like, y'all able to get y'all content for a couple of weeks. So I thought, like, damn, if I'm able to get y'all a couple $1,000, a couple thousand followers, a couple thousand views, I might as well be more intentional when it comes to my brand and likeness because y'all obviously see the value in it. That's the reason why y'all want to poke on my cut tail and throw a whole bunch of shit at the wall, hoping something stick, and I say something to you. Right now, we're getting into media literacy, though, and that was the reason why I talked about Patreon and talked about Substack, because it's just a way to get you down that funnel to increase your, media literacy when it comes to race, class, gender, bisexuality. In this video right here, though, I'm getting into media literacy and how a bunch of black Democrats, a bunch of black Democrats tug on identity politics to evoke an emotional response from black people to justify a democratic agenda. I believe also black Republicans in many instances use identity politics to evoke an emotional response and use it to get black people to do something that reifies the Republican agenda. Now, I'm not trying to do a anti-intellectual, it's both the same. I think that the way that both of these parties capitulate into identity politics to fold back into establishment, party politics is a bit different. And I think that one of them, my grandfather always said the pathway to hell is paved with good intentions. I think one of them is done with good intentions. I think the other one is not, but it doesn't negate the process, doesn't negate the product. You feel me? The intent doesn't negate the impact. You know what I mean? I do know uniquely is that a bunch of black Republicans, they manufacture chaos and dissent and to piss off black people, to mobilize their content, to show the white folks, look, massa, pick me, I'm a good nigga. See how I made these niggas mad with this video? Pick me. I want to go to Brexit. I want to be on C-SPAN and be on Fox News. You know how I'm going to do it? I'm going to prove I'm really down with the cause and show that I'm willing to do anything to push me up at the expense of black folks. I'm going to get into what he gonna say, but just think about the ways that black people on the plantation, black people during Jim Crow, black people during the war on drugs, and even the war on terror, use the tools of the master to appeal to the master at the expense of the people. Think about that.
The white man's Instagram. Because what have you ever done? Go make your own platform. Racism isn't the obstacle holding us back anymore. It's the culture. It's our leadership choices. Only place Obama could lead you is right off a cliff. I want you to go to the bath.
How do you separate racism from culture? How do you separate racism from the culture that produced it? Critical thinking is a lost art in this country.
I want you to look in that mirror. You see that? Yeah, that's your enemy right there. Hip hop does more damage than slavery ever did because it glorifies drugs, violence, and broken families. We didn't have to be slaves anymore. We enslaved ourselves with a beat, a rhyme, and a chain around our neck. Juneteenth is a made-up holiday just to help corporations sell us cookies and ice cream. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, Juneteenth, cookies and ice cream. Democrats are the real slave owner. Gotta stop voting for them. Nobody's perfect, but they got it all wrong. Black Lives Matter was never about black lives. It was about money, power, and keeping us angry while they cashed out on us. And we fell for it.
Wah. Hey, you can be critical of rap music and think about the ways that rap music perpetuates these pathological things around the black experience. We can be critical of how hip hop denigrates black women. We can be critical about how hip hop, sometimes is perpetuating. We can be critical of how hip hop promotes slave culture, slave catcher music. But making the claim that hip hop has caused more damage to the black community than slavery is just not only unethical, it's empirically false. Hip hop is not the reason why black folks is losing access to healthcare. Hip hop is not the reason why black women lose access to reproductive justice. Hip hop and rappers are not the reason why black kids are being taught that slavery was good or why we're losing funding in the classroom. After slavery, a bunch of our ancestors spent a bunch of their hard-earned money in buying newspaper ads because they wanted to find their family members. A lot of us like to romanticize the past and making it as if when niggas was being strung up from the trees and we couldn't do nothing about it, that we should romanticize it because of this utopian idea that you have about the black family. Can we point out that both Democrats and Republicans own slaves? Can we point out that the foundation of America was enslavement? And that both Democrats and Republicans, both the North and the South, uniquely benefited from King Cotton. Y'all can talk all that shit about black women all you want and how they've done historically this, that, and the other, but the plantation is birthed by black women. The plantation is birthed by the black womb. The plantation is what birthed King Cotton. King Cotton is what births America to being a part of the international economy. If we're not a part of the international economy, America does not become the global hegemon that it is today. When you try to curtail slavery as being a unique Southern thing, it glosses over and mystifies how the North also uniquely benefited from it and how the North would have been cool, actually, in some instances, with niggas working in agriculture and working in industrialization without free, but felt like they couldn't compete with folks down South. When y'all get caught up in bipartisan politics or you have these quote unquote free thinkers like him, because everybody with that red hat that's black like me, they always say the same shit. I used to be a Democrat too, but then I did my research and I became a free thinker. And I found out that Democrats were the one. Listen, man, Democrats and Republicans both have policies throughout history that have played into the captivity of black people. That's a fact. It's a fact that whether you in a red state or a blue state, there's an insatiable appetite for killing niggas and locking us up. That's a fact. It is also a fact that you are able to make a Venn diagram. You see what I'm saying? There are similarities, many similarities that the Democrats have with the Republicans, but there are also many differences. Democrats is cool with niggas going to college, Republicans is not. I think niggas going to college is good. Like, just even this. Slavery is foundational to America, like the two-party system. And when you talk about how Democrats did X, Y, and Z, it glosses over how you're more likely to see a South will rise again, Ku Klux Klan sympathizing, Confederate flag toting individual at a Trump rally. The Ku Klux Klan was started by the Democrats at their time. Now the Democrats, now the Republican Party of our time aligns themselves with the Republican Party. You see that both the Republican Party and Democratic Party, they play musical chairs when it comes to black suffering. This era is their time to usher and be at the seat of, black suffering. In this era, this party is. I'm gonna do a live stream. I'm gonna do an episode over the Southern strategy in Barry Goldwater and how at a time of Southern Dixiecrat supremacy down South, because when you see the Dixiecrats or anything about Dixie, that's Dixie Democrats. When you think about the Republican Party versus the Civil War, Republicans was Abraham Lincoln, Democrats was down South. It's not ironic that all the states that used to be Democratic that voted to secede, that was Dixiecrats, are now Republican. That's due to the Southern strategy. Education is elevation again. I got 3 minutes actually. Let's see. I'm engaged with the comments for a little bit, man. Shout out to everybody again. If you want access to anything that I've referred to in this, if you want a nice little conceptual, a smooth way to put this in some key takeaways and some quotes and all that, subscribe to the Substack. Subscribe to the Substack. Research Over Mesearch. See facts. Prison in Mississippi still having black slaves working on the fields. Oh yeah, definitely. We know that a lot of the fugitive slave things and a lot of the land lease prison system practices still exist today. We know in Alabama, Mississippi, McDonald's and Walmart and other corporations, you can rent you out a prisoner and pay them shitty wages for your corporation. This is still the world that we live in. The FBI say that, all crimes is committed by black people and white people at similar rates. But black folks is 5 more times likely to go to jail for drugs. 5 times more likely to go to jail for breaking the law. But we see that shit ain't how it is. It's a fact. White supremacy symbols are banned at Trump rallies. Talking about they had to ban them because so many was there. They had to ban them because it wasn't good for PR. It wasn't doing good for their marketing to be like, how do we get more Negroes? How do we have more diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives to include more Black people as part of the Republican Party? These KKK flags not gonna do it for us. We gotta take them out. We gotta get them out. That's what they said. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it come down to, man. That's what it come down to. Truth well, man. You want my attention so much, bro. I thought in my mind you should have been grateful. You should have been grateful that I gave you any time and I read your name, fam. But what's your question, man? What's your question, man? Let me help you make your day. What's your one question, man? I can already tell it's gonna be one of them old shallow ass half-baked questions. I can already tell you the type that think deeply about shallow shit and then drown in your own understanding. You the type to really try to get into the depth of something by being shallow as hell and thinking that being a contrarian make you an intellectual. Ask your weak ass question so I can answer it and go about my business, man. Because it's actually lunchtime for me. You feel me? Go on, ask, what's your question, man? What is your question? What's your see now you prove my point. You wanted my attention, you're not asking a question, you want some airtime, man. You want to, do you know it's like 1,000, it's 10,000 of yous that's in line right now doing this same immature, wild bullshit. I had 9th and 10th grade English students that was much more mature than this. And look at this, look at how dry you is. You still ain't asking no question. You just spamming comments now. With that being said, man, education is elevation. I'm an acquired taste. I'm not for everybody. Even if we don't like each other, even if we don't get along, I still think education should be able to elevate you. I still think that education can teach you about how the world is structured and teach you about how the world positions you. I might not be the educator or the person for you. If you don't like the way I say it, I might not be the person for you, and that's okay. That is okay. We don't have to throw any temper tantrums about it, no hissy fits about it. We have to make no nonsense about it. Just like some students sometimes have to, unenroll from the course because they felt like I wasn't professor to them. A lot of students fought deans to get enrolled into the course. That's fine. Different strokes for different folks. The last thing I will say is that I think it speaks volumes of your character when you think somebody is a clown or you think somebody is always bullshitting and you invest time with them. I said this before, I'm gonna say it again. A lot of y'all think I'm a clown, and I think y'all a clown. A lot of y'all think I'm full of shit, and I think y'all full of shit. The distinction is I would never invest any of my valuable time, effort, and energy to come into any live stream to hear your nonsense and bullshit. The difference is I would never pull up to your circus to see your clown shit. The difference is, no matter how clownery I think I am, somehow you keep on subscribing to the content. Subscribe, like, share, follow, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Instagram, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on TikTok, whether you're on Substack. Education is elevation. This is an episode of Research Over Mesearch, man. Let me know how y'all think about the new thing. You feel me? We're going to get real busy. And also, too, when I have time, haters. I can cook your ass and get real tenderism. Hold on, I got my last little music, and we